if you get a draw or a loss, you're out.
Yeah, I mean, that's no value to you. You have to win. This is an all or nothing match, essentially. And it's a match between two players who are very, very well known internationally. So Daniel Altavilla from the US, a whole list of accomplishments. I don't think we have time to go through how many events he's succeeded at. And I'd actually say the same for Brent as well. He's an Australian player who's been to a lot of different international championships and done quite well at a lot of them. I believe his best result was a top 8 at a Latin America International Championships. But for a while, he was one of only 2 or 3 players who had day 2, and I think it was every international, or except one maybe. So he's, a very accomplished player and certainly one of the best in Oceania, I would say, in terms of his consistency at different events.
We see the prize cards get laid out here as we are ready to begin game 1. We see ADP here for Brent Tonisson. The first thing you notice is the multiple metal energies and the Jirachi. On the right-hand side, though, you see a Mimikyu and a Malamar prized, as well as a Psychic Energy, which really tells you that we're going to be going ADP against Malamar for this final round of Swiss Day 1.
I tell you what, I don't think we've seen enough Malamar this weekend. Malamar is a card that everyone rated highly. We thought we would see Mewtwo and Mew GXs with Malamar running around everywhere, but it looks like people have gone for a little bit of a different Malamar build. And I'd like to see if Daniel's also playing that kind of build, with a little bit more Giratina, like Michael Pramawat was playing earlier in the day.
Yeah, they share a lot of friends. I wouldn't be surprised if they have similar lists to each other. Now, here's the thing: is that there are lots of ways to build Malamar, but coming into this tournament, most people were hyping it up to be paired with Mewtwo and Mew. That's
Absolutely.
not what we have seen this weekend.
Yeah, not at all. It's been a little bit more with Giratina, which is, I would say, a little bit of an old school build. Giratina was the natural sort of card to pair with Malamar when Malamar was first released, and then Giratina came out and lost Thunder. They just fit so well together. Giratina wants to be discarded. Malamar wants to interact with the discard pile. It was just so natural. And hitting that 130 damage consistently was, quite powerful then. It's interesting, though, because is it enough now? Is it enough now when you're in a format with Pokemon that are 280 hit points like Arceus, Dialga, Palkia?
That's a great question, and maybe we'll get the answer to that at the end of this round. Now, Brent Tonisson does get to start things off here in his game against Daniel Altavilla. That means he gets to go first. He doesn't get to play a supporter because, remember, these rules have changed as of this Sword and Shield expansion. But he does start off with Jirachi, which means Stellar Wish allows him to start finding the right items, the right trainers that he might need as this game begins to progress. Now, Brent definitely wants to find himself in Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia, and he wants to find an energy for it. If he does that, then he considers this turn a success. And just as I say that, we see the Arceus, Dialga, Palkia, we see the metal, and we see an Intrepid Sword to end the first turn. That's about as good as it gets here for Brent.
We also see that one of those key supporting Pokemon we were talking about, which is Absol with its Dark Ambition ability, hitting the bench, which can be quite problematic for these Malamar decks that rely so much on a skateboard and the ability to just retreat for 1 energy or 0 energy in the case of Jirachi with an skateboard. Now, Daniel's forced to attach energy to Pokemon to retreat them if he can't find switches.
And now, Daniel Altavilla, his turn to start setting up. We see a Cynthia played after we see a Latios bench, as well as
I believe it's a Blacephalon with Fireworks Bomb.
Okay, that makes sense. A little bit of glare there, but you're absolutely right. And now Daniel does shuffle his hand right back into his deck to draw 6 new cards. That's the power of getting a supporter on turn 1. That allows you to find yourself a second Inkay in all likelihood. And
but this is a great start from Daniel. You saw how quickly he was playing. He put down that Latios GX with an energy. He knows that if he can get off that Clear Vision GX this turn, puts him in a much better position. The Arceus, Dialga, Palkia won't be able to use Altered Creation GX, and it won't be able to take multiple prizes on his 1 prize attackers. So really important that he's able to get his attack off this turn. The only issue is that Latios GX, it does have an ability that means that you can't actually attack unless you have a certain number of Pokemon in play, and he hasn't hit that threshold just quite yet. So he does have to find more basics to put down to be able to get that Clear Vision GX attack off, and it looks like he's digging with Acrobite.
Yeah, he needs 2 more Pokemon, and he needs a way to retreat that Inkay. It's not going to be easy for Daniel to get this turn 1 Clear Vision GX, but if he gets it, it's going to be huge.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'd say game-defining.
Oh, yeah, like that will absolutely shape the way Brent plays out the rest of this game. However, Daniel just needs so many pieces of this puzzle. I don't know if he can get there. It seems like he's contemplating going for it, decides to play Mysterious Treasure, maybe finding himself another Inkay. But the rest of his hand just didn't seem spicy.
And funnily enough, that Absol potentially putting in work there, meaning that Daniel actually, he has to find a switch to be able to retreat that Inkay. He can't just attach an escape board to it.
All right. There's that, I believe, Giratina. And that's going to mean Giratina gets discarded. Another mysterious treasure. That one might find an Inkay.
Oh, a golden Inkay. Even better.
One up to me right there. Daniel Altavilla discarding that Giratina means that we will see a 5th Pokemon in play. The thing is, there is still no way to retreat that Inkay.
Yeah, we're really looking for switch here.
There's a 2-3 card hand. I don't see a switch.
Oh, and that's a pass.
And neither did Daniel, as he's forced to pass the turn. Jirachi wakes up, and now Brent immediately Stellar Wishes. He's looking for a way to retreat this Jirachi and attach a water energy onto that Arceus and Dialga, and Palkia wants to do this as badly as he possibly can because of that Clear Vision GX just threatening to ruin his game plan if he doesn't pull it off.
Yeah, I think Brent has a moment of reprieve there. He's definitely breathed a sigh of relief on that one. He does have an extra opportunity to use that Altered Creation GX if he can piece together what he needs to be able to pull it off.
Yeah, I mean, if you see the Altered Creation GX out of Brent there, then, I mean, that basically takes away Daniel's entire first turn. Like, there's no reason for him to start powering up this Latios otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it can use Tag Purge. Tag Purge does sort of nullify Arceus, Dialga, Palkia in the sense that it's not going to be dealing damage to Latios. But, the main attacker in the deck of Arceus, Dialga, Palkia is that Zacian V, and that is not a tag team. Yeah,
exactly. Like, of course, you can attack with the Latios, but there's so many things that you would rather be doing if you're Daniel. You really want to get that Clear Vision GX. You really want to start putting Brent in an uncomfortable position, and if you can't do that, then the Latios definitely starts to feel a lot weaker. And there's that second energy onto Arceus, Dialga, Palkia. Aurora energy discarding that Mimikyu, and there's a switch. So we are going to see Altered Creation GX at the end of this turn. And, well, the end of this turn is now, as we see that GX marker get flipped face down. That's going to mean 30 additional damage from here on out for all of Brent's attacks, and more importantly, an extra prize card gets drawn from here on out every time he takes a prize.
Daniel's still committing energy to that Latios GX, so he still is going in for the attack with that Pokemon.
That escape board.
Unfortunately, not putting in as much work as Daniel might want, just because that Dark Ambition Absol on the bench there is, still the retreat cost of that Inkay is 1.
Well, I may have spoken too early, as he did find a way to get that Malamar to attach an energy. So, yes, if he can retreat this Inkay, then he's going to be in good shape. If he can tag purchase, he's going to stop Ultimate Ray from dealing any type of damage to that Latios GX. That's going to put some pressure onto Brent from Daniel's side. But he still needs to find a way to retreat that Inkay. It's not easy.
And the 120 damage is nothing to scoff at either. I mean, that 120 damage in combination with, say, a Giratina dealing its attack as well, and maybe a spell tag, that's a knockout on Arceus, Dialga, Palkia.
There's that switch. Switch means we get to see a tag purge. We get to see Latios GX put the first amount of damage onto Brent, and it's really going to mess Brent's game plan up. Like, he's still going to try to Ultimate Ray more than likely, right? Unless he can find a way to maybe Metal Saucer here and get a knockout onto Latios GX. But if he doesn't have a Metal Saucer available to him, does Brent, then that's going to mean that Daniel may be able to get the first knockout of the game.
There are ways around Latios GX. Of course, I mean, Brent will be playing cards like Custom Catcher, but also Fiona as well to sort of catcher out a Pokemon on the bench. And really anything on the bench there, he'd be happy to knock out, particularly any of those Malamar pieces.
Yeah, Fiona would play a very key role here if he can find that Fiona here.
But we can always talk about ideal turns and then what actually is going to happen, what he is able to actually do.
All right. Looks like Daniel about to tag purge. Not quite ready to do it yet.
I do believe he has a Malamar in his hand, so I think he was thinking about maybe putting that down or not. But yep, tag purge coming out from the Latios GX.
And that means Brent has 120 damage on his ADP without it attacking yet, or without it dealing any damage yet, or Ultimate Raying. With only 1 energy on Zacian. He's going to have to find a way to power up the Zacian through maybe Metal Saucer, or he's just going to attach onto the ADP. Actually, he chooses to attach onto the ADP and then retreat it. An interesting play there from Brent, as now he actually retreats into Jirachi to Stellar Wish and find himself a Professor's Research, so maybe his hand was lacking on some draw power there.
Yeah, I saw a Metal Sorcerer and a couple of other cards, but no supporter cards, so there's no way to draw more cards. But it's very interesting that he's throwing away 3 energy, effectively, into the discard pile, and putting himself back to just 1 energy on the board. We'll have to see what Brent is digging for with his Professor's Research.
Well, that felt like a huge hit if he didn't have one already in his hand. One being the Professor's Research. And there's that Professor's Research. Maybe a very critical hit there, as if he hadn't found some sort of draw power, then he would have left himself with no way to really attack. But instead, Professor's Research drawing a fresh hand of 7 cards and attaching Metal Energy with the Metal Saucer before doing so.
But he just has to Intrepid Sword to end his turn. He didn't actually find an energy card in his hand to attach to that Zacian V.
And that is the end of Brent's turn, so Intrepid Sword, of course, still powerful, drawing 3 more cards. Brent's hand is extremely large now, but Daniel may be able to just start running away with this game. He's already dealt 120 damage onto Arceus Dalgapalkia. He's left Arceus Dalgapalkia with no energy in play. I mean, there's only 2 energy attached to Zacian. That's really the only thing Brent has going for him here.
I mean, suddenly that 120 damage doesn't look so bad, right? From Tag Purge. It doesn't
not
seem
at
like
all.
Like such a terrible strategy. He's really bearing down on Brent's side of the field. Does want to try to potentially set up another attacker, but then when you're playing Giratina from Lost Thunder, it can kind of just put itself in play, and if you have enough Malamars with Psychic Recharge, it just powers it up straight away. We're looking like there's going to be a Psychic Recharge onto a Jirachi, though.
And now Jirachi gets that Psychic Energy as well as a skateboard on it.
Just ensuring that he can retreat it if he ever needs to put the Jirachi into the active position.
You see how how powerful Absol's effect really is. You saw how Daniel has needed multiple switches in order to really get his game plan going. We saw how at one point he being Daniel couldn't attack with Tag Purge because Inkay had, despite having a skateboarding.
Daniel went to take a prize, but unfortunately he drew a card off the top of his deck as his prize for the turn. Totally by mistake. You know, sometimes this is what can happen when you're 8 rounds into a tournament and everyone's quite tired. He probably just landed across to take a prize and then took a card off the top of the deck.
Yeah,
not
to make any excuses, but that jet lag is also killer. So I have no doubt that also is playing maybe a bit of a factor there, as that deck and those prizes, they start to kind of blend in at a certain point in the tournament.
I wish
that would be after round 8.
I wish I could also make that excuse, but unfortunately it's not really available. But it looks like they've just resolved it. It's just taken the prize card instead of the deck. I think the issue is that the deck is on the same side as the prize card, so it was quite an easy mistake to make. But game continues. And it looks like there's going to be a reset stamp coming out of Brent there.
Reset stamp could make will make Daniel shuffle his hand back into his deck and draw 5 cards. It could really disrupt Daniel there. And now Brent gets that 3rd energy onto Zacian.
Here we go. I think you're going to see Brave Blade for a knockout.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be the first knockout from Brent here. And yeah, I mean, all we got to see was Altered Creation GX. We never got to see an Ultimate Ray, but by the way, that's a double custom catcher. Not afraid of that Latios GX. We were saying it earlier. It's like Tag Purge just really doesn't do all that much. Yes, it definitely messed with Brent a lot. It made Brent kind of retreat instead of using Ultimate Ray. But the reality is that at this point in time, there's just not much of a threat from the Latios GX. You don't mind it dealing 120 to you if you're going to return it. If you're going to come back and return a knockout on it. So that's kind of the story that Brent's looking at here. Brent would rather do double custom catcher, knock out the one Pokemon that really lets Daniel start to set back up, and just kind of let Daniel have that Latios GX with that 120 damage output.
And I think it's a really clever play because that Latios GX on the bench, Brent can use Great Catcher at any time to pull that Pokemon up and take those 2 prizes. But just by taking away a support Pokemon like Jirachi that Daniel might rely on to get different pieces to set up different strategies, Brent only takes one prize, but he's getting rid of a core piece of Daniel's strategy. He also reset stamp proofs himself in some ways. So now if Daniel's playing a reset stamp, Brent can still draw 4 cards instead of 3. It's a minor thing, but I think it's one of those things that just gives you a small percentage better chance going forward into the game.
Yeah, and normally it would be 1 prize, but because of Altered Creation, of course, it's 2 prizes. And that's another reason why you kind of want to avoid taking the knockout on the Latios GX. You don't really want to take 3 prizes if you're going to be doing nothing but 2 prize knockouts. If you can just score 3 knockouts on the easy non-GX Pokemon, then you probably would prefer to do that. Now, there's a Mimikyu with Copycat.
Which is just going to get a knockout.
Yeah, that's a big knockout on the Zacian. That's a 1-hit KO from that little Mimikyu, that little 70 HP Pokemon there. It looks so nice. It looks so... Well, honestly, it looks a little frightening, if I'm being honest with you.
And that's one of the attractive things about this Malamar deck, is that you can play all these kind of tricky, you know, in the video game, they're like ghost Pokemon, and they have all these tricky little attacks that they can use as well. So things like Copycat, just out of nowhere, just dropped a Pokemon and said, hey, I'm just going to do 230 damage back to you if you don't mind. And he's able to just take 2 prizes and actually clear Brent's board of any meaningful energy.
Yeah, I think there's only 1 energy on the Zacian in the bench. And yeah, there it is, 1 energy on the Zacian in the bench. So you're going to probably need to see at least 1 more Metal Saucer, right? 1 Metal Saucer and an energy from hand. It's not easy to keep pulling these resources out. At a certain point, you're going to be left with 1 or none of these saucers left. And if you can't find it, then that's going to mean no attacks from you. Daniel down to only 3 prizes remaining, and that's basically 1 Zacian knockout and 1 knockout on anything else. It's going to be a little bit harder here for Brent to seal this game.
Yeah, and I mean, he's already played, I think, maybe 2 Metal Sources already, so there shouldn't be that that many remaining in his deck. It makes it even more difficult to find.
Looks like Rainbow Energy got discarded, I believe.
From Viridian Forest, I think?
Yes, for Viridian Forest.
Otherwise, I'm unsure how it was discarded. But Brent's not going to pick up anything from his deck. Probably just a method of looking in his deck to see what's left there, what cards, what strategies he has available to him.
And now Jirachi gets benched. I don't know if I see a Metal Saucer, but I do see a Metal Energy. And there it is. The little saucer. As the 3rd energy gets attached onto Brent's Pokemon. We said it was going to be hard for him to get it, but if he did, he would be in pretty good shape. And there it is. It's a knockout onto Daniel's Mimikyu. That's 2 more prizes taken by Brent. Only 2 prizes remaining, which means any 1 knockout. And now...
Esper comes in. You thought I could copy you once? Well, there we go. I'm going to copy you again and get a knockout. So Daniel, you can see, he knew his outs. He played it straight away. He said, oh, okay, you're just going to knock me out with a 230 damage attack? Oh, I'll just come in with my Esper, which is effectively my 2nd Mimikyu, and knock you out.
Out of nowhere, really. I mean, I didn't even see the cards leave his hand.
Hey, I told you the ghost Pokemon are tricky, right? They just appear out of nowhere.
It's a combination of the ghost Pokemon and Daniel's lightning quick hands.
Ah, yes.
I think that Daniel Altavilla has easily the fastest hands in the Pokemon TCG, as I feel like I genuinely blinked at the same time I played the cards. That's the only reason why I feel like out of nowhere these cards came out.
So yeah, I mean, that's the power of Malamar, right? Psychic Recharge, you have multiple Malamars in play. You can just power up a Pokemon in one go, and away you go. And Malamar, it's funny because it's so powerful with its ability Psychic Recharge to be able to put a Psychic Energy from the discard pile, attach it to one of your benched Pokemon, but it's not really a card that people are going to target and try to knock out. So it's really quite safe sitting there, just doing its own business. People are really targeting those cards like, as we saw, Jirachi or the Latios GXs, the Giratinas, the things that are actually threatening their board state. And, you know, people are free to just set up lots of Malamars and set up any Pokemon they want effectively on any turn. And we just saw that. Esper just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that was one thing that was going through my mind when I saw the double custom catcher onto Jirachi. Like, I understand Jirachi's going to start to feed your hand the resources you need to get to continue with, you know, with your attackers. But so does Malamar. The Malamar actually feeds you the energy. So I thought that maybe there was an argument that could be made for starting to knock out these Malamars, and if you could find another double custom catcher on another Malamar, then you could really put Danny in an uncomfortable situation. But at the same time, getting the Jirachi out of the fields was also going to be very important for Brent there, as we do see these prizes start to get laid out as we are about to begin Game 2. Remember, Danny won Game 1, which means one more game win from Danny will advance him on to Day 2 with that 6-2-1 minimum record required to make Day 2.
And I saw that Esper in the prizes, so, you know, Esper might not be an option this game if that's something that Daniel's going to go into. But looks like he started with the Pokemon that he probably wants to see, and that's that Latios GX with that clear vision. It's just a case now, can he get enough Pokemon down to be able to use its attack?
Yeah, all he's going to need is a Psychic Energy and 4 Pokemon. If he can find this, 4 more Pokemon plus a Psychic Energy, then he's going to feel really good. Brent is going to be going first right now. Brent's got to get 1 energy on his Arceus Palkia, and then he's got to cross his fingers. That's basically Brent's game plan right here. Cross his fingers, hope Daniel can't find everything he needs to get that attack off, and if he can't, then Brent will be able to keep that game plan going with Altered Creation. If he can, though, then Brent's going to have to find a much more difficult road to getting those 6 prizes than he would have had game 1.
And you have to wonder if Brent's going to change his strategy at all. If he's going to actually try to start powering up something like the Zacian V straight away rather than the Arceus Palkia. He's got to know that Daniel plays 4 Mysterious Treasures, 4 Quick Balls. He has a lot of ways to get out basic Pokemon. So maybe it's not actually worth going into the Arceus Palkia. Maybe you're better off powering up a different kind of attacker and relying on that instead.
That's definitely something that's going to be crossing Brent's mind. I think that it's going to depend on how his hand kind of looks right now.
Yeah,
if his hand can support just going with Zacian and just powering it up manually, then you're going to go that route. And if his hand can't, then he's going to do what he just did right here, which is just cross his fingers and hope for the best as Danny begins his first turn of the game.
What is that? Who draws 2 energy off an Intrepid Sword?
Okay, well,
that's pretty strong.
That's a strong plan B. It may be a stronger plan B than plan B may be stronger than plan A at this point.
A pretty powerful start from Brent there, actually. He got an energy onto the Arceus Palkia, which is really all you want from this deck. That's really your, standard turn 1. But also 2 energy onto this Zacian V, so it's pretty much ready to go next turn. And now it's all on Daniel. Can he actually find enough Pokemon and get them down, plus an energy card on the Latios GX to prevent that Altered Creation GX from coming into play?
I feel like Danny just had a roller coaster of emotions in like a 3-second window where he sees the Arceus Palkia get an energy attached to it. He's like, yes, all right, we're good. And then literally 2 seconds later, you see 2 more metals hit the Zacian, and then your heart just kind of sinks, and you're like, oh boy,
yeah,
I guess I have to earn this one.
Uphill battle, definitely.
And now Danny does start his first turn. Remember, he still needs to find 4 Pokemon. He needs to find an energy, which we already see in hand. If he can do those, he'll be fine.
I think I see 4 Pokemon. So he has 2 there that are face down, which is a Jirachi and an Inkay. This Mysterious Treasure can get him a 3rd. And I think he has a Giratina in the discard pile that he can just bring into play at any time he wants to.
Yeah, so that would be great. That would mean a Clear Vision GX attack right then and there. And that basically mitigates half of what Brent's been working on here. That only leaves him with having to deal with that Zacian with 2 metal energies. That only leaves him with having to deal with Zacian and 2 metals.
Quite easy, right? Walk in the park. But the issue with that strategy I just described is that it leaves him with 1 card in hand. It's not a supporter, it's not a trainer, it's a Malamar. So
okay, yeah.
Not ideal.
But there is a Jirachi on the bench.
That is true.
So, yeah, your hand's not great right now, but it can easily change after a single stellar, which we saw how Brent kind of had a very crucial stellar wish in game 1. It can easily happen for Daniel in game 2.
Again, Brent really prioritized getting that Absol out as well. It was actually his target on the first turn of the game. He just really wanted to put Absol down, recognizing that some of Danny's best strategies come from him being able to pivot between different Pokemon, especially having that Jirachi into the active spot when a Pokemon is knocked out. If he can't escape board back into another Pokemon, that can be quite problematic. It's forcing him to find things like Switch or attach energy where he didn't necessarily want to attach it.
So now, remember, Brent still wants to obviously find an escape board for his Jirachi and maybe an energy for his Zacian. If he can do something like that, then he's going to be in excellent shape. And there's a reason why he attached the metal onto the Arceus Palkia. It's because he had another metal saucer to get the 3rd energy on his Zacian, and now has the escape board to retreat the Jirachi. That means we're going to see a knockout out of Brent here. And yes, he doesn't have Altered Creation GX, but he's taking 2 prizes right now.
He also found a Fione, so he can actually target anything on the bench that he can target a benched Pokemon.
Yeah, I think in this particular case, you're okay with taking this two-prize knockout. You aren't going to have Altered Creation GX anymore. You know your opponent isn't just going to promote a Jirachi if you use Fione. You might as well save the Fione for a little bit later. And, of course, Danny has the perfect card there off of that Stellar Wish. There's that Professor's Research kind of saying anything you can do, I can do better to Brent, as he's done the same thing Brent did to him in Game 1.
Yeah, he wished for the right thing.
It was a great wish right there. As Professor's Research draws 7 new cards for Danny.
A lot of them are energy, it looks like. And ways to find energy in that Viridian Forest.
And sure enough, Psychic Energy gets discarded to that Viridian Forest to find himself another Psychic Energy.
And this is sort of how Malamar, this is the script. This is the Malamar script. You get out as many Malamars as you can. First turn you put down loads of Inkay. Second turn, loads of Malamars. And also on second turn, load up a Giratina and just start hitting for 130 damage. So I think that's what Danny's looking for here. A way to be able to get 3 energy onto that Giratina so we can start swinging and potentially taking 2-hit knockouts on all these Pokemon V and Pokemon GX.
It seems a tiny bit hard to do that because there's so many things that he still needs, right? He still needs a Malamar. He still needs another energy, and which we know he has. And he still needs a way to get that Jirachi to the bench. So there's a lot of pieces that are missing, and we saw that Danny's hand was basically full of energies. But if he does have them, then yes, that's going to mean some pressure onto that Zacian.
I'll go first.
As that Zacian is... Okay, nope. Instead, Danny scoops him up. He feels like he's just too far behind.
Thanks.
And, yeah.
So what actually happened differently in that game compared to the first game? Because Danny actually got off that Clear Vision GX.
Oh, I'll tell you what happened differently. It's called Intrepid Sword.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when Intrepid Sword finds you 2 metal energies off of that 3-card sword, then, yeah, that's just Zacian doing Zacian things.
Yeah, pretty powerful, pretty strong. I think most people expect, well, they don't expect, but they hope to find 1 energy. When you find 2, it's just like, yep, I've won this game. Let's go to game 3. That's sort of what Daniel was thinking, I think, along there.
And you know what? Danny had such a great opening Pokemon with that, you know, that Latios GX. Danny just, it looked so good for him after you see Brent attaching energy onto the ADP. And then 2 seconds later, everything changed.
Yeah, you can never discount Arceus, Dialga, Palkia, and Zacian V. We've been talking about it all weekend. Intrepid Sword, its attack Brave Blade. It's just dominating right now. But I think Danny should potentially go for the same strategy though. If he is able to get out that Clear Vision GX attack, he throws down and says, I have no basics. And neither do you. Okay. Let's go again.
All right, both players still shuffling both mulligan there. So both going to draw new hands of 7. As, yeah, here's the thing, is they've both played 2 games in very quick fashion. There's still 23 minutes remaining. With a full game left to play. I'm very happy to see that, as remember, a draw would eliminate both of them from day 2. Or, well, from day 1 before they can make day 2. So we want to see a clear victor. It doesn't matter if it's Brent or Danny. I'm sure both players feel the same way. Neither one of them would feel very excited about, well, would feel happy at all about taking a draw. And it's win or go home for both.
I think they're both keenly aware of that as well. Like, they're playing at, you know, quite a pace. They know exactly what strategies they want to achieve.
It explains why Danny was scooped on turn 2, basically.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And there's 7 new cards. All 7 cards. We're missing a basic Pokemon. That's 2 mulligans in a row for Danny there, as he's...
And he plays so many Pokemon. All of his Pokemon, essentially, aside from Malamar, are basic. Where are they? He plays a lot.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I'm seeing a lot of basic Pokemon there that could have easily been in that 7-card hand, but instead, just... It seems like the energies are just kind of like grouped together, and they won't go away from each other.
Yeah, not ideal at this stage in the game.
It's a very friendly pack of energies there that are just very tightly knit.
So Danny will be able to go first this game, and I think that's, for a Malamar deck, quite an advantage for them. Or rather, not a disadvantage. If they go second, they may feel they're at a disadvantage because they can't evolve into their Malamars just as quickly. If Danny does go first, though, it does give Brent the option to live in that fantasy land of being able to get Altered Creation GX off on the first turn of the game.
And now the prizes are set as we see a Zacian as well as a Jirachi and a couple of quick balls on Brent's side of the field. And we see a Jirachi to match that other Jirachi on Danny's. So, oh, there's another Latios. with an energy and a pass with the Mimikyu on the bench. Here's the thing, though, is a pass could signal a lot of things. Of course, you could still have a supporter in your hand, but it does signal that you probably didn't have like a quick ball, though.
Well, I'm not seeing an Inkay. And I think that's often quite a problem for a Malamar deck. Like they definitely want to get down as many Inkays as possible on the first turn of the game so that they can evolve them into Malamars and have multiple Malamars on the second turn of the game so they can start attacking with something else. There's not really anything in this deck that will attack for one aside from Clear Vision GX. And maybe, I don't know, I think it's Filch is the Mimikyu's first attack to draw some cards, but that's not dealing any damage. So it really relies on getting down loads of Malamars, and to get down loads of Malamars, you have to have down loads of Inkays.
Now, Brent is starting his own first turn of the game, as it's probably going to be a much better turn than Daniel's.
Looks like he's going to play a tag call. He's found a Arceus Dialga Palkia.
Yeah, that is Arceus Dialga Palkia that he could be finding. As we do see Brent kind of shuffle his deck. And took a nice good look at the deck. Started to try to figure out what may be prized there. As now we see Stellar Wish find a Metal Saucer.
I'm not seeing a whole lot of Pokemon on Brent's side of the field, and I think he really needs to start getting some Pokemon down. Then again, if he looks across at Danny's side of the field, he knows that there are no big attackers coming. There is no way that Danny's able to attach multiple energy to his Pokemon without having Malamars in play. So,
yeah.
really Brent is actually quite safe next turn. The only thing he knows is that Danny is able to use that Clear Vision GX and prevent a GX move, but that's not dealing damage. So it looks like he's just going to Intrepid Sword to end his turn, and in true Brent fashion, he does find an energy. Now it's up to Danny here. It is his turn that he can play a supporter.
Easy decision there with the Acrobike. As like I said, these energies, they like to stick together.
And he does have a Professor's Research in hand.
7. Can I see your discard?
So he will be able to discard his hand and hopefully find more basic Pokemon to put down. Really seems to be deliberating about putting down that second Psychic Energy onto the Latios GX there.
Research.
Yeah, I mean, we've said it before. Tag Purge, not exciting. 120 damage is not where you want to be, but if you stop your opponent from being able to Ultimate Ray, then you're doing your job.
Not seeing a whole lot of Inkay in that hand, but it does look like Danny's calculating what he's going to be doing. There's a golden Inkay, I think.
Yeah. That golden Inkay just looks so much different compared to the normal one.
That's the special one. That's his prized possession, that Inkay.
Prized possession.
Prized Inkay.
As Danny does bench it, he still needs 2 more basic Pokemon to bench. One of them is looking like it may be a Jirachi.
But definitely has a treasure as well, so he can find a second Inkay if he so chooses.
I think he's just kind of figuring out what he can afford to discard without any issues.
And usually when you're playing a Malamar deck, energy is the target. I mean, you want to get energy into the discard pile, but it looks like he might be going for Viridian Forest.
Huh, interesting choice. So Viridian Forest is the discard of choice here for that mysterious treasure. Likely going to find an Inkay. Can't really imagine looking for any other Pokemon right now, given the hand. And it is indeed an Inkay. So that's 3 Pokemon on the bench here for Danny. Still wants to find that 4th Pokemon, though I do believe he has it in hand.
Yeah, I think we saw an Inkay a little bit earlier. There's also that Esper there as well. We need not forget about that card. It had such a pivotal role in the first game.
Esper is the kind of Pokemon that you kind of want to drop as a surprise.
Oh, absolutely.
And there it is, Clear Vision GX. Before Altered Creation GX can come. And that leaves Brent in a situation where he's hoping to find some Metal Energies and some Metal Saucers.
Yeah, he definitely wants to start putting down damage this turn and potentially even find that Fione as well, just to get around the Latios, so maybe he can attack with that Arceus Dialga. I don't know if he can play some kind of energy switch shenanigans and get 3 energy onto that Arceus Dialga Palkia. Start using Ultimate Ray.
And it looks like a tag call. We'll be finding a Guzma and Hala. And now Guzma and Hala will be used by discarding 2 cards here for Brent, so he can find himself a tool. He can find himself, of course, the stadium card and a special energy.
Yeah, pretty powerful tag team, I would say. Pretty powerful tag team supporter. It's quite selective. You can get like very key pieces that you need to start attacking with.
Yeah, I mean, there's a skateboard right there. This is a nice little solid turn here for Brent. Remember, Danny had a very optimal setup there with that Clear Vision GX on the second turn of the game. So Brent's kind of trying to come back from that. If you can get a knockout here with your Zacian, you're feeling great. But if you can't, then at the very least, you want to really start to set up your mid game. You want to start to set up multiple Zacians if possible. And you want to hope that you get another Intrepid Sword with 2 metal energies.
Easily done when you're Brent. Easily done. And the question here is whether, if he can't attack with that Zacian V, if he can't, you know, gust something from the bench into the active position and attack with that Arceus Dialga Palkia, does he just leave something else in the active position, like a Jirachi, that, you know, it's probably okay if that Jirachi is knocked out. It's probably not okay if a big GX Pokemon or a Pokemon V is knocked out.
Questions that remain to be answered.
I think I'm seeing a double custom catcher, or perhaps just one moving rapidly.
There's definitely at least one custom catcher in hand here for Brent. I believe it's only one, though.
Ah.
Now,
Zacian V.
there's Intrepid Sword. Do we see any medals? I don't. Yeah, there might be one at the end.
Third one?
Yeah, it looks like there was one at the very end.
But he's definitely thinking about whether he wants to attach it. Could possibly be that he has no other energy in hand to be able to attach to Arceus Dialga Palkia for that ultimate ray next turn.
I mean, if your opponent's threatening to tag purge.
Wait, did you get a medal? Yeah, you have to attach it.
Oh, is it? It's not that you have to because you can't tell. No.
Yeah.
A little bit of conversation about what's happening here.
It's private knowledge.
Yeah, it looks like they're debating if
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have
yeah,
to
yeah.
attach a medal if you find one or not. I do not believe you have to, but
I think it's unknown.
Yeah.
That is that the 3 cards are unknown to the opponent, so they can't
Right.
decide whether you have to attach one or not.
and that is the ruling that we're going with there. So,
And it looks like Brent, he decided not to attach it.
right.
I
So-
think favoring that Arceus Dialga Palkia, perhaps?
Well, there's that third energy onto that Latios GX. So that means we're going to see a tag purge
Cynthia?
to end Daniel's turn there, but not before he plays a Cynthia after benching that Esper. Cat's out of the bag. Esper's in play.
And I think that's a clever choice from Brent, is to prioritize that Arceus Dialga Palkia. If it's dealing 150 damage per turn, if that's copied by Mimikyu or Esper, it's not getting a return knockout on that GX Pokemon. But it is getting a knockout on most of the Pokemon on Brent's side of the field.
Kind of a slow game out of these players after you saw 2 quick victories for both of them.
Playing with a little bit more hesitation, I think. This is the deciding game to get into day 2. This is so crucial.
Yeah, this makes or breaks your tournament, really. I mean, nobody wants to go out in day 1, especially not if you're somebody like Danny, for example. And, of course, Brent with his own great set of accomplishments. Both of these players expecting to really have a day 2 performance at the very least. So anything short of that would mean a failure of a tournament for both. They both have really high expectations of themselves.
Yeah, for sure. It looks like Danny found a golden Malamar and is putting it onto the golden Inkay. He's very consistent with his choices. I like that.
Psychic recharge.
Psychic Recharge, Psychic Energy going onto the Jirachi.
And
Spell tag.
now Esper starts to get a little bit more threatening there.
I think in the image it looks like it's asleep. But there we are, 120 damage, Tag Purge going down to the Zacian V.
Tackle.
And that's, I mean, that means that Brent may be eyeing down a double custom catcher turn, right? Like, I think that's really what was telling of Brent not playing that metal energy. So I think if Danny's still awake there, he's probably catching on. He's probably trying to figure out, why would you not attach that metal under the Zacian? You probably need it in your hand because you don't have any in hand, but then that means you're going to be attacking with Ultimate Ray, and then, well, if you're going to attack with the Ultimate Ray and I have access to Tag Purge, then oh no, oh no, which of my Pokemon is going down?
That's a lot of thinking to be doing in round 9. I don't know.
right?
Like, that's beyond me at that point. It looks
And-
like he's going to play Caitlyn and Cynthia to grab a Guzma Hala back, but also to draw 3 cards.
Can I see? Yeah.
Yeah, it's Cynthia and Caitlyn still being played despite, it never felt like a strong supporter, but it does do some pretty unique things. It draws cards and it brings back your maybe one of supporters from your discard pile. Now Jirachi, Stellar Wish, trying to find himself maybe, well, I'm thinking Metal Saucer is one of the key cards. Instead finds an escape board.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the kind of play that Brent was going for there. Yeah, I mean, he can't attack that Latios GX with the Arceus Dialga Palkia, and it's kind of worrying to attack with the Zacian V after he saw last game that Esper and that Mimikyu, and they're both sitting on the bench there, and there is at least one Malamar that's going to be able to use Psychic Recharge next turn.
Okay, so... Oh, there's that another custom catcher.
But does he have a way to switch out the new Jirachi?
Well, he's already retreated, right?
Played a switch, and he's retreated as well.
So he has an escape board in hand, I believe. But I believe he's already retreated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he
So
does
we
need
need
to have
another
another
switch.
switch. Oh, I think I see it.
Yep, I believe I do too. I believe it's at the top of the hand, so there may be a double custom catcher with the switch coming up. There's the switch. There is Arceus Dialga Palkia. I think at this point, all 5 of the bench Pokemon are starting to hide. They're looking for cover.
And now it comes down again. Which bench Pokemon does Brent choose?
I
This
believe
time
it's
it's the
Malamar, right?
Mimikyu this
Oh,
time.
Mimikyu. Okay, Mimikyu. This time, taking out the attacking Pokemon, deciding, okay, not a big deal. Malamar's going to do Malamar things. As long as I don't allow the Malamar to power up the right Pokemon, then maybe I'll still be able to get a very easy victory here despite not having Ultra Creation GX. Brent very carefully choosing the target in the Mimikyu. All 5 Pokemon hit away, but only Mimikyu was found.
There is a way for Danny to get back his Mimikyu as well, because it was such a crucial card in that first game. He may want to be using it again if Brent ever does go into that Zacian V Brave Blade, and that is in Lana's Fishing Rod. Can get a Pokemon back into the deck, so that is one option. That Mimikyu is not gone forever. But it's certainly, well, I would say it's probably not going to be attacking this turn.
Oh, it took a pretty hefty hit from 3 legendary Pokemon.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
knocked out pretty strongly there. And, well, Latios GX has 3 energy on it. Might as well use it, as Tag Purge will be putting 120 damage onto Arceus Dialga Palkia. And more importantly, perhaps, not going to allow Arceus Dialga Palkia to deal damage in return. So that might mean that we're going to see Zacian get a return knockout. Well, get a knockout onto Latios GX with Brave Blade. It's going to be... We've seen Brent not be afraid to discard energies to retreat ADP before. Respects the Tag Purge. We've already seen a couple of custom catchers, so you can only get rid of that Latios GX so many times. Eventually, it will stick.
He does also have Fiona as well to catch out Pokemon from the bench, but chose not to find it that turn. He could have actually collected that card and taken out another bench Pokemon, but you're right. That Latios GX is just going to continuously do 120, and eventually that's going to knock something out.
Who's Mahala finds a stadium card here for Brent.
Yeah,
And
pretty
now-
big. Lysander Labs
Yeah.
turning off those spell tags.
Yeah, it's definitely important, but there's that retreat. That retreat is exactly what I expected to see out of Brent. Just, you don't have access to all that many custom catchers anymore. You now want to start threatening these Pokemon. You want to start threatening this Latios GX, but there is that Esper waiting in the wings. That Esper is really looking like it's going to be, Esper's really looking dangerous here.
Oh, absolutely. But it really comes down to whether Danny can find a Malamar and a way to power up that Esper. It does take 3 energy to attack, so
Sure.
it's not cheap, that's for sure. But Cynthia is one way to potentially get there.
I mean, we have one Malamar in play with an Inkay in play as well, right? Maybe
2 Inkays.
Yeah, 2
yeah.
Inkays in play. That glare starting to get to me. Round 9.
It wouldn't have happened if it was the golden one.
That's true. That's actually really true. Very definitive picture style there for the golden Inkay.
All right, so we
And-
see 6 cards. I'm seeing that Lana, no, it's a quick ball, not a Lana's Fishing Rod.
I mean, we only need 2 Malamars or a Malamar and a Psychic Energy. It's not that hard, right? This is what your deck does.
Quick Ball doesn't quite get you there, though, unfortunately.
No, not yet. But Ear Kinesis is just such a great attack against Arceus Algapalkia right now.
And he does still have the option to Stellar Wish as well. That could find something like a Mysterious Treasure, which definitely gets you into a Malamar.
Yeah, has yet to retreat this
But
turn.
we also have this Blacephalon with its, I think it's Fire.
Yeah, that can
Works
put 120 damage. Well,
Yeah, 12
counters.
damage counters when the opponent is on 3 prize cards. Which, you know, this current state of the game, Brent is on 3 prize cards.
So that could
Danny
just be a
can
knockout on
place-
Dazashi in there.
Place 12 damage counters.
I like that, actually. I think that that's a much better play because that means a knockout on Zacian. Zacian gets knocked out, and then you still have that ADP, which you can knock out with Esper later on. That's a much better use of your resources there. If you're a Danny, you want to take advantage of the fact that your opponent's at 3 prizes right now. He sees that. He chooses to go with that attack, and now he does have to deal with the Zacian that's fresh with 3 energy on it and no damage counters. But if he does get through that Zacian, then that means he's going to be able to get a 3 prize knockout onto that ATP with that Esper whenever he gets to attack with that Esper. So really, Danny basically just needs one more knockout.
I think it just shows how powerful that Lysander Labs was as well. That spell tag damage can really add up and actually just knock out that Jirachi.
Yeah.
So with the spell tags, Danny could have knocked out the Jirachi and then taken another 3 prizes on the Arceus Dialga-Palkia, and that's all the prizes he needs to win the game.
Yeah, that's
so
a
that
great point.
Lysander Labs was actually quite crucial, I think.
That's a great point there, Ellis.
Thanks. Sometimes I know what I'm talking about. Don't worry.
As Danny does get to draw his hand, remember that is going to be a knocked out Blacephalon, so Brent is down to, I believe, 2 prizes remaining. But Mysterious Treasure will find a Malamar, which means we're going to start to see these energy really start to flow here for Danny.
And we could see this really cool attack in Ear Kinesis. That could come out this turn if he's able to get an energy from hand onto that Esper. Or,
Well,
you know,
just
3
3
Malamar.
Malamars.
That's fine too.
And plays Professor's Research right after that. So I fully expect to see ADP get knocked out at the end of this turn. And that means Danny needs to find one more prize. How does Danny find that final prize? That's really what it's going to come down to.
I think we might have forgotten one key crucial part of this, in that Brent has just put down a Mew.
Oh, no.
So damage to
Oh,
bench
no.
Pokemon is
Oh,
no
no.
longer available. So Danny actually has to find a way to gust up that, Esper only attacks the bench. So that interaction is sort of all over the place, unfortunately.
Oh, that Mew just hiding in the wings there. Do you see how that Mew is kind of like just sitting there inconspicuously
It's a secret Mew.
right
but
next to that
Danny's
Jirachi?
Danny's playing very, very quickly now, as though he has a game plan that
Bench.
would win him the game. It is actually that Solgaleo Lunala GX tag team, I believe,
Turn.
can deal 230 damage.
Retreat.
And out of nowhere, with 3 Malamars, he was able to power up that Pokemon.
Okay, so you can't hit the bench, but you can still hit
the
active
active.
Zacian. That's going to be 2 prizes remaining here for Danny, as he does take that big knockout on Zacian V. That means Danny needs only one more GX or V knockout, or knock out that Arceus Algapalkia with 120 damage already on it. And Brent still needs to get a big GX knockout or 2 more single prize KOs, as Altered Creation GX was never able to be used. That means Brent's got to play an honest game, and this honest game is starting to get away from him as he has no energy in play besides that Aurora energy on the ADP.
And even if he's able to power up a Zacian V, that Solgaleo and Lunala GX, it actually has 270 hit points. So it's extremely difficult to knock out for Brent at this point in the game, especially since he hasn't used the Altered Creation GX move. On Danny's side of the field, though, that Pokemon, the effect of its attack, Cosmic Burn, is that it can't actually attack again straight away. So he does have to find a way to switch it out of the active and switch it back in if he wants to do another 230 damage.
Yeah, that could prove to be troublesome. I mean, the resources are running a little bit low for these players, but at the same time, it might not be, right? Danny, all he needs really is a switch in order to be able to attack again. So Brent cannot bank on that being his game plan. That Mew saving him right now, but still, you have to find a way out of this. You have to find a way to play around that Solgaleo right now. Can you do it if you're Brent? Remember, your tournament is on the line. With a minute and a half remaining, all that extra time they had available to them is just gone. We're back to playing a very short game with very few minutes remaining on the clock, very little time, very few prizes left. Will they find what they need? We may start to see some more slapping action.
I think ideally at this point of the game, Brent needs to be attacking with a single prize attacker just to ensure that he's not going to lose next turn. If he sends out that Arceus, Dialga, Palkia, really anything that Danny puts into the active spot is going to, potentially knock it out, and then Danny will win the game. So Brent really needs to start attacking with a single prize attacker, but I think the only things he has are Mew and Jirachi, which aren't inherently too powerful.
Yeah, they are not very powerful Pokemon on their own. They're meant more to support you than to actually win you the game. As Reset Stamp gets found, and I mean, there's the support that we're really talking about. Reset Stamping your opponent down to a 2-card hand, very powerful. But when your opponent has 4 energy on an active Pokemon, then you kind of have to worry about that first.
That could buy a turn for Brent potentially. I mean,
sure, it makes it harder.
Yeah, Danny might not find that switch.
Makes it much harder to have a switch when you only have access to 3 cards after drawing your card for the turn.
But then you got to look at the long-term game plan for Brent. He can't just keep attacking with Mew, and that's going to make it a little bit more difficult for Danny. Retreating will now cost him 3 instead of 2 because of that Dark Ambition ability of Absol that's now in effect.
Yeah, I mean, you have 3 Malamars, but yes, you're not wrong. Brent kind of weighing his options.
And that Fiona, used to be so powerful, and now unfortunately if you just gust something up into the active spot, it resets that Cosmic Burn attack, and Solgaleo can just come straight back in.
Fiona would be Danny's MVP right there, if anything.
Really tricky spot for Brent here.
Yes, it really
Very
is.
tricky.
There's the Reset Stamp, though. The first card played, they're making Danny shuffle his hand right back into his deck and only draw 2 new ones.
But if you have a look, he has a very, very small amount of cards left in his deck. So if there is a switch in there, chances that he find it might not be
is
too
called.
bad.
Ellis, time's called.
We didn't even look at the clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That means
Oh, we found it. Oh, I think that's a switch.
Brent is
He
turn
found the
0.
switch.
I have recharge and then switch.
Danny just found the switch.
Danny finds the switch. He's showing the switch over to Brent. He's telling him, I win, man. Please scoop him up. Oh, man. Okay. So Danny
Not quite yet. He does have to take 2 prizes.
Yeah, I've done all that. The energy. I'm so bad.
So that Mew being in the
Yes.
active spot, he's
then
playing
I
a little bit too
retreated
quickly. I think even the judge is a bit
I
confused
have
about
to
what's going
retreat
on.
and discard 1 because of Absol.
Okay, I think Danny's trying to explain how he's likely going to win here.
Then I'll
But-
Cosmic Burst.
I think
think
Brent's
they-
probably just saying, let's just play it out. Let's just see
Yeah.
how it goes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if your tournament's on the line, I don't see why not. So instead, Danny goes down to a single prize remaining. Brent still has 2.
Brent had to try to deny the last prize from Danny here.
But even then, if you deny it, you only get a draw, right? This is
But
Brent's
you have to
final
play
turn
your
of the game.
best. You have
Yeah.
to play to your best condition, I guess. And Brent's decision
So-
here is either to win or prevent his opponent from winning.
I believe that this is what's happening. I believe that Brent was turn 0. Ended his turn. Danny quickly took his prize. That was the end of turn 1. I believe this is now Brent's second turn.
Okay.
And then Danny's going to get that turn 3.
All right. So Danny has one more turn to find 1 prize. 1 prize?
Yes, I believe
Yeah.
Danny's down to 1 prize now.
And Brent, if he can somehow take 2 prizes on this turn, but I'm not confident that that's able to happen.
Double custom catcher. Looks
Catching
like
out
Brent is happy, and I use happy very loosely, but looks like Brent is content with hoping to get a draw here. Danny draws for the turn. Does Danny have what he needs? Does he have a switch or something along those lines?
Viridian
Forest
thins his deck.
finds a psychic energy.
We're just looking for a switch here, so we can switch the Malamar out and send that Solgaleo Lunata straight.
I'm not
back
wrong
into
here,
the-
right? Malamar has 2 retreat costs?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so Malamar having 2 retreat costs means an Acrobike may need to find some help for
Professor's
Danny.
research.
Does he finds a research, a skateboard onto the bench Pokemon to research,
Finds a
the
switch.
switch.
There was
The
one
switch is
left.
going to allow
Wow.
Danny to take the final prize, and that means Danny Altavilla is going to win this 2-1 on the final turn of the game. Danny Altavilla advances to the day 2 with a 6-2-1 record, and unfortunately for Brent, his tournament ends here.
Wow, what an exciting finish to that game. Honestly, it came right down to the wire. I'd say both of the games that Danny won especially were really surprising, kind of right down to the wire. Victories there. I say commiserations to Brent, though. He played that
Oh,
one
of
really
course.
well as well, but that Malamar deck just had so many tools to be able to respond to Arceus, Dialga, Palkia.
Yeah, you feel for him because that was